Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christine Beveridge and I'm the Director of the ARC Centre of Excellence for Plant Success in Nature and Agriculture. On behalf of the University of Queensland and the Centre, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we are meeting today, the Turrbal and the Yagara people, and extend that acknowledgement to the traditional owners of the lands of all of those who are joining us online. We pay our respects to their ancestors and their descendants who continue cultural and spiritual connections to country. We recognise their valuable contributions to Australian and global society, including to nature and agriculture. I welcome you all here today, and it's a pleasure to have Ms. Judy Zielke, PSM, here with us today. She's the Chief Executive Officer of the Australian Research Council. Professor Deborah Terry, AO, Vice-Chancellor and President of the University of Queensland, I believe, will be joining online, and other distinguished guests and representatives from many of our partner organisations joining us in person or online today. Thank you all very much for being here. Well, we have finally made it to the launch. I think that in itself is a great achievement. It's certainly been a very challenging period of the planet's history in terms of the humankind, and I think that many of you here have put in such a massive effort to bring together a successful, first of all, development of a great bid, and then the establishment of the centre, and now I can just see so many wonderful and exciting projects and relationships going on. It's a real testament to all of you, and so I also want to thank you all for that. So here at the Centre for Plant Success, we understand that climate change and a growing world population is putting a degree of pressure on food supply that current technologies cannot meet. So we have members of our centre who have been very much inside major companies that are involved in providing food for our planet, and those companies are very aware and very concerned about the need to provide food for a growing population and a resilient crop to target against climate change. But in addition to that, they also recognise, and so do we in the centre, that more than half of the calorie intake by humans is coming from just 3 crops, which is quite scary, I think, in the face of climate change, but also in the face of nutrition. It's really not a healthy way, one might think, for either our natural systems or our own health. So in this centre, we are highly motivated to discover how to increase and future-proof food supply and resilience of major crops, as well as less established crops and food sources. So we understand that it costs nearly $500 million, hundreds of millions of dollars, for these big companies to keep pumping out enough food for an increasing population. How are we going to do that with smaller crops? How are we going to afford it? What are the technologies that we need to have in place to accelerate that gain? So these are the questions that our centre is trying to address. And we think we can do that, as many of you know, but some of you may not know, it's through maths and biology together that we hope to do this. With a little bit of evolution thrown in, actually quite a bit of evolution thrown in. To meet this challenge, we will have these interdisciplinary collaborations, the mathematicians, the biologists, the lawyers, as well as our partners, to combine biological discovery with advanced mathematics to greatly enhance the predictive capacity that we have. So when those breeders are trying, or those big companies are trying to enhance the rate of food production, we want to contribute by making it less of a guess game, putting a little bit more predictive power into their hands. And that's the core of what we're trying to do. And by learning what knowledge is transferable between species, we can broaden the knowledge of all species. So that's the part about diversifying out to different types of food, but it's also about understanding our own plants on our planet and how they function and how they respond to change. And it's through the lens of evolution then that we can actually enhance knowledge gain across diverse plants, be they in agricultural or natural systems. We recognise that we've been awarded a unique opportunity not only to advance research and practice in plant science, but also to make contributions to how we engage in science and research itself. The Centre is guided and structured according to 3 core values: integrity, inclusivity, and international excellence, all of which are undoubtedly required to enable a successful interdisciplinary research program. It's wonderful also to see the shared respect and collaboration among our diverse researchers, whether they be diverse from cultural background or research topic and many other areas. And coming to that, paramount to everything we do in this centre is the fostering of the next generation of multidisciplinary researchers. So our dream is that the researchers coming out of here will have a language that is a lot better than my own in describing what we're doing, which is able to converse across a wide range of different disciplines and understanding how cultural background influences the way we think. Their enthusiasm, drive and interdisciplinary intellect, that's the part I love the most, is really palatable. I can really sort of feel it coming along. And I'm often thinking to myself, I kind of wish I was back there, breaking the frontiers at the coalface. And anyway, so I really do believe that the early career researchers are indeed a legacy. They're going to be the future leaders, and we really want to make you as strong as you can be in that. So we're tackling some very big and complex challenges, and that requires the sustained focus of a centre of excellence. And we're very, very thankful to the ARC, as well as the University of Queensland, University of Tasmania, Queensland University of Technology, Western Sydney University, and Monash University, along with our government and NGO partner organisations for their investment in our centre, both the cash and all the other kinds of investment they provide to us. So just finishing off, together with our partners, we can be impact-driven and provide solutions to critical issues of climate change and food security. And so I'd now like to invite Professor Deborah Terry, a Vice-Chancellor of the UQ, who will join us from Zoom and address us now.
I will. Thank you very much, Christine. I hope you can hear me. That's all working, hopefully. And congratulations to you on your leadership of this important and very timely ARC Centre of Excellence. Can I begin by also acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on which we are all meeting right across this country, and paying my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to acknowledge Miss Judy Zelke, PSM, and thank you so much for being here, Judy, distinguished guests, colleagues, one and all. And I'm just so sorry that I can't be with you in person today, unfortunately, because of COVID-related isolation. However, I am very pleased that I can participate, at least remotely, in the official launch of the ARC Centre of Excellence for Plant Success in Nature and Agriculture. And as Christine has said, this event has been a long time coming. In fact, the centre has now been operational for over 18 months. However, this doesn't in any way diminish today's celebration. Quite the opposite. It enhances the occasion because, as well as an official launch, we get to celebrate a year and a half of accomplishments. Since its establishment in 2020, the Centre has laid the foundations for a research organisation that will transform plant science for the next generation. And with a portfolio of 25 research projects underway, The centre is well and truly beginning to deliver on this ambition, understanding and integrating plant mechanisms to discover the rules of plant success, modelling the impact of these rules in different environments to predict breeding success with greater certainty, and applying these predictions to plants in the ground. In other words, translating the research of the centre into actual crop production. This is very significant work, and there is arguably no more important time in history for it to be happening. Changes in our climate and a dwindling amount of arable land on our planet are threatening the productivity and resilience of both wild and cultivated plants. On top of this, the human population is exploding and the demand for plant-based foods, feed, fibre, biofuels, and chemical and industrial products is increasing. Essentially, we are at an inflection point where we must urgently increase the yields of mainstream crops, develop new or enhance marginal crops, and identify strategies to conserve at-risk native plant species. To make this possible, the world needs new approaches, new theories, and new technologies. To put it more succinctly, the world needs the work being undertaken by the ARC Centre for Excellence in Plant Success. Here at UQ, we are renowned for our research and teaching excellence across the interconnected disciplines of agriculture, agribusiness, food science and technology, plant and soil sciences, animal and wildlife science, and of course, mathematical sciences. We were recently ranked number 2 in the world and number 1 in Australia for agriculture. And our researchers in this space are doing some remarkable work. They have, for example, developed a commercialised disease-resistant crop technology, as well as a crop of 500,000 genetically diverse sorghum plants, which have been grown on our very own Gatton campus. But we also understand that the problems we are trying to solve, those of climate change, food and water security, biosecurity, and the protection of endangered wildlife, are complex global issues which require many minds and a truly collaborative effort, which is one of the reasons we are thrilled to be a partner in this centre, a centre which has 17 participating organisations and which brings together world-class researchers from a multitude of disciplines and institutions who are all working towards a single goal of safeguarding and sustaining world food supply and biodiversity. So on that note, I'd like to thank those who have made the establishment of this centre possible. Our partner universities, the University of Tasmania, Monash University, QUT, and Western Sydney University. Our other partners, both domestic and international, of whom there are too many to name individually, but to whom we are incredibly grateful. And of course, the Australian government for the $35 million in funding that was awarded through the Australian Research Council. This funding is providing a genuinely transformational opportunity. It is helping us to develop new strategies to address the problems of food security and climate change. And it is helping to firmly establish Australia as a global leader in these areas. So thank you. And thank you to everyone who has gotten us to this point. Thank you, Christine, for your incredible leadership. And I'm just so sorry I can't be with everybody there this afternoon to help celebrate this important occasion. But it's now my great pleasure to invite Ms. Judy Zelke, PSM, CEO of the Australian Research Council, to say a few words and officially launch the ARC Centre of Excellence for Plant Success in Nature and Agriculture. Thank you.
Many thanks, Debbie, and thank you, Christine. I very much appreciate the opportunity to join you here this afternoon. It's a great joy for me to be here. For those of you who don't know, I'm Canberra-based, so it's very much a joy to be standing here without an overcoat on, to say the least. May I also acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we are meeting today, the Turrbal and Jagera peoples, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I'm delighted to be here for the launch of the ARC Centre of Excellence for Plant Success in Nature and Agriculture. I have decided that we need to have acronyms only in relation to centres, and therefore I think the Centre for Plant Success is an absolutely perfect way of actually working with that. In 2020, the ARC awarded 9 new centres of excellence, for which this is one, totalling $309 million, roughly, in that round. It's a highly competitive process. I just wanted to take the opportunity to say what an achievement it is to be one of those 9, and to now be 18 months on is absolutely amazing. And to see the annual report sitting on the table over there is fabulous in itself. I'm pleased to see that some of the barriers from COVID, although not all, Debbie, moving on, and we're able to have an event like today to recognise what's been done so far. So, as mentioned, ARC provides $35 million over 7 years through the scheme for research that will literally help put food on people's tables. I think that's an amazing thing to be able to say in relation to the aims of the centre that everybody can clearly understand. That being said, I had the joy today of listening to a number of the team explain the work that is going on, and I was absolutely blown away. It's amazing to hear the different things that are going to be utilised here, and potential for those new arrangements to then apply in other areas as well. Never ceases to amaze me that people, researchers don't only think about what they can do to help in a particular area, they're always thinking more broadly than that, and this is clearly an example of that. I should also note that the Centre for Plant Success is currently the only ARC Centre of Excellence focused on plant science in Australia. So it will play a central role in boosting food production and developing conservation policy at a national level. I was particularly pleased to note that the Centre will also advocate for recognition and protection of the rights of First Nations people in the development of native plants for agriculture. I think with the developments in recent months, with the announcements in relation to Indigenous rights, etc., I think it's a very exciting time in that regard to be giving that recognition as well. Your projects to use Australia's unique natural diversity to improve modern crops and to enhance the crop breeders' toolkit in the face of climate change are laying the foundations that will build up some fantastic work with your industry partners, such as Corteva and AgriScience, as well as other organisations like CSIRO. Being a former CSIRO person, I can't help but want to throw that into the mix as well. Particularly excited to see that that's there. As I've mentioned, ARC Centres of Excellence like this are some of Australia's most prestigious meeting points of expertise, through which high-quality researchers can collaborate and develop our international standing in research areas of national priority. A significant part of the role of the ARC Centres of Excellence is to build Australia's research capacity by attracting and retaining outstanding researchers and providing high-quality research training for the next generation of researchers. It was another great opportunity today to talk with some of their early career researchers and just have a bit of a conversation about what it means for them in relation to being involved in the centre as well. With nearly 190 staff at the centre, almost 50 students, but more than 100 postdoctoral researchers, fellows or investigators. It's an amazing resource to draw on and a fabulous training and learning opportunity for all participants. I look forward to hearing not only of the successes along the way over the next few years, but also the outcomes for Australia more broadly in relation to the plant-based industries over coming years. And it's therefore with my great pleasure that I officially launch the ARC Centre for Excellence for Plant Success. Well done. Thank you very much.
thank you very much to our distinguished guest Judy and Deborah. Thank you so much for that and both of your lovely speeches. And I'd also like to say, as many of the centre members were unable to join us here in person today, we put together a short video for you all to watch. I'd like to congratulate those who've put the video together. So you'll see, some of you will see some familiar faces, and I won't say any more, but let's enjoy this beautiful video. Thank you.
So plants are so important to life on Earth. They're the lungs of the world. They breathe in carbon dioxide, they breathe out oxygen. That oxygen is used by organisms across the planet.
We have a massive challenge as plant breeders. We're dealing with a world that is hungry for more food, a world that has no more land to produce that food on, and we're facing challenges of climate change.
Climate change is happening at an unprecedented pace. So we as scientists need to try and uncover the secrets of plants and find out how they've solved those problems throughout evolution and whether we can take advantage of that knowledge.
Agriculture is going to need to come up with a variety of new approaches to help overcome some of the extreme challenges that we're going to face with climate change.
We rely on something like 2 or 3 species for 2/3 of our calorie intake around the world. But here in Australia we have thousands of species and many are crop wild relatives. So we can potentially take advantage of the secrets from our native flora for how to deal with climate change and any other environmental challenge that you could throw at them.
We work with tens of thousands of trial plots around the target production area to look at the impact of different stressors on yield and the performance in farmers' field.
So the plants that I'm working on are actually Australian native plants, and they grow in some of the most hostile environments on the planet. I'm hoping that by using these we can take some of the traits that the plants have evolved that can withstand drought, fluctuations in temperature and so on, to take those sorts of traits and bring them into our crop plants so that they can not just give you the best yield under optimum conditions, but are able to still yield when the climate is a challenge.
The advantages of bringing together scientists with such diverse expertise is we can ask completely new, novel scientific questions, but also we can tackle age-old questions but in a whole new way.
In science you tend to get narrow and narrow with how you focus, and with the centre it's good to have the incentive to have a bit of more of a broader community. We're connecting together to a bigger picture and trying to see how we can all work together.
What I hope for the centre is that it will be able to connect different areas of research that have traditionally been a bit separate from each other, that will be able to come up with something that's actually really practical for agriculture and horticulture.
When you're trying to address a big global problem like food security, the challenge is so huge that you need the maths to be able to have a common language that it transfers the biology across to the breeders. That's what the mathematician's role is. And then you need the legal people to be able to make sure that that's done in a responsible way from the community's point of view, and also, say for example, from First Nations people's point of view. And so capturing all that together is one of the great beauties of having a centre of excellence, because you can actually answer the whole problem, not just a little part of it. Thanks everybody for being here today, and thank you for officially launching our centre. And I think we can now look to the future, see what we're going to achieve, and for right now we can celebrate being together and the launch of this centre. So enjoy the rest of your afternoon.